Alice Andrews, everybody, is one of our newest directors of our board, and it's just a great privilege to have you here today.
Thank you.
And so, Alice, I'm just going to ask you a few questions just so people can kind of get to know you. And the first one is just around what your priorities for 4Sight are for sustainability and how those have changed under these new COVID conditions that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, well, we, as you probably know, have been measuring our carbon footprint for a number of years, so we have a good idea of what our hotspots are in our company for our emissions. And of course, air travel was the highest for a company our size, and next is company vehicle use. So the next piece of work we're going to embark on is looking at a fleet management system that will help reduce that. And we're hoping for sort of around 10% reduction in that area.
Wow.
We've got 17 vehicles over our sort of 8 offices nationwide, so it's a pretty significant sort of piece in our footprint. And we've sort of started transitioning to EVs where we can, but because we have a lot of ecologists and contaminated land people out in the field, they need 4-wheel drives and things like that. So we're waiting for that technology to come in. But I guess during COVID, we've just naturally done a lot less air travel. I think that will continue. So that's not as high an area as we need to focus on now, but definitely more on the vehicle use. And one of the things that was really beneficial to us over COVID in terms of, the economy being affected, was that our regional offices kept going whilst a lot of the changes to Auckland Council being a big client here quietened down a little bit. So what we've found is that we're really going to focus on making our regional offices stronger now that going forward, because we need different professions offering our different services in all of the offices, so we need them to be really functional, so that if we go into another lockdown in Auckland, we can still service our nationwide clients from those areas. So vehicles are even more sort of important in that way. So yeah, that's where we're going to focus. And I think in order to meet our Climate Leader Coalition targets, we need to start some serious scenario planning. And I'm hoping that actually the other SBC and Climate Leader businesses will be able to help each other. We'll all be able to help each other with this, because we'll be looking at when can we transition our vehicle fleet to electric to make. I think we need to achieve a 4% reduction year on year, which is very difficult. So we measure our carbon emission intensity, and we know that we, in terms of our per FTEs or per revenue, we aren't increasing our carbon emissions, but we are increasing our gross emissions. So we may see another increase of 5 or 10%, and then we're going to have to reduce right back down in another 10 years. So how are we going to get those gains? And that's a real challenge at the moment that I'm sort of looking forward to talking to the other members about.
And how have you found operating a business that focuses on sustainability through lockdown, with the inability to be able to travel and see your clients and your customers? How have you managed that transition through to being sort of a more of a virtual business, I suppose?
Yeah, I think we had a flexible working arrangements, in the business, so everyone was quite well set up at home. I think just like all other businesses and government even, we all moved to that online working and things like that. And what we found with our own business was where we have some of our teams, we have a large planning department, I guess, and there's a big team in Auckland, they work together. But on the other side, in terms of our environmental services, we've got people in Christchurch and people in Wellington, and our largest team is in Auckland. But actually, once that team had to go completely online, they're much more cohesive now. And so so that's been really great, seeing that all come together.
So thinking about the role of SBC and CLC and the big changes that have happened as a result of COVID-19, What do you think the role of SBC is and the role of CLC as well? And what do you think the benefits of belonging to CLC and SBC are?
Well, I think, the road that we're on with the SBC and the CLC, like putting together the roadmap for climate action priorities, that's been a really good piece of work that I've really enjoyed, seeing come along, and that's part of the reason why a business of our size is in, the group. There's a lot more cohesion, I think, now with the SBC and the CLC being much more aligned. And that piece of work means that, we've had input as a company into, letting the government know what those priorities are.
So as you know, partnership's an important part of the new strategy, both for SBC and for CLC. Where do you see opportunities for partnership as we go into this new phase of SBC?
Yep. Well, I guess some of those larger companies that are in the CLC, we work with at the moment in on the ground, helping out with things like planning and contaminated land remediation, and we're working with the project managers in those areas. And when we start to see the leadership directives that the CLC are looking to achieve come down through those businesses, I think we can have a really cohesive sustainability offering for projects that we're working on with those different businesses.
And do you think that the partnership with government is going to continue to be an important part of what SBC does?
Yeah. It's always that mix between business pushing really hard on government to look at, changing the way things are done, and then government being able to make that change back. And so there's that constant tension.
Yeah.
And I think, procurement and recognising whole of life costs through government, initiatives is something that will really drive the business community and be stronger for the actions that they've pushed through to government. A number of years ago we had a lot more sustainable procurement initiatives coming through from government, and they all sort of went away. So it'd be good to see those sort of things come back as well.
That's great to hear. Well, Alice, it's been a real pleasure talking to you this morning, and looking forward to doing this a few more times.
Yeah.
And looking forward to welcoming you onto the board on the 10th of November for your first board meeting.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Great to have you on board.
Thank you.